Before the advent of modern medicine, people relied on a complex combination of observation, tradition, spirituality, and experimentation to maintain health and treat illness. In every corner of the world, communities developed techniques to prevent disease, reduce suffering, and encourage recovery without the pharmaceuticals and surgical procedures familiar to us today. The study of pre-modern healing reveals a fascinating intersection of culture, belief, and resourcefulness. Early humans faced a world filled with dangers, infections, injuries, parasites, malnutrition, and environmental hazards. Yet, long before antibiotics, vaccines, or anesthesia, humans sought ways to survive and alleviate suffering. These methods were not merely superstition. They represented practical knowledge accumulated over generations, often based on careful observation of plants, animals, and natural cycles. The line between science, ritual, and belief was fluid, but the outcomes were sometimes surprisingly effective. Herbal remedies formed the backbone of ancient and medieval healing. Communities discovered that certain plants could relieve pain, reduce inflammation, or aid digestion. Leaves, roots, bark, flowers, and seeds were prepared in various ways: teas, poultices, infusions, powders, and ointments. For instance, willow bark, rich in salicylic acid, served as a natural pain reliever long before aspirin was synthesized. Chamomile and peppermint were commonly used for digestive issues, while garlic was valued for its antiseptic and antimicrobial properties. Knowledge of herbs was often transmitted orally, through apprenticeship, or via manuscripts, creating a rich tradition of botanical medicine. Nutrition and diet were also central to healing. Without modern medicine, people understood that proper nourishment could strengthen the body's natural defenses. Legumes, grains, fruits, and vegetables were emphasized for their restorative qualities, while fats and proteins were used to rebuild energy after illness. Certain foods were thought to balance humors, a concept prevalent in ancient Greek and Roman medicine, which influenced European and Middle Eastern traditions. While not all dietary recommendations were scientifically accurate, many promoted general health, hygiene, and resilience. Hydrotherapy and bathing practices were common in many societies. Hot springs, mineral baths, and steam treatments were used to alleviate joint pain, improve circulation, and cleanse the body. Ancient Romans constructed elaborate bathhouses, combining soaking, sweating, and massage, while Japanese and Korean cultures developed sophisticated bathing rituals, emphasizing purification and relaxation. Water itself became a medium for healing, sometimes infused with herbs, salts, or mud for additional therapeutic effects. Physical therapies including massage, exercise, and manipulation were essential in the absence of surgical interventions. Techniques to treat sprains, broken bones, and muscular pain were developed through observation and trial. Even ancient practitioners realized that movement and gentle pressure could reduce pain and restore function. While primitive compared to modern physiotherapy, these methods often accelerated recovery and prevented complications. Spiritual and ritualistic healing played a pivotal role. Many cultures believed that illness could stem from spiritual imbalance, curses, or malevolent forces. Healing rituals often included prayers, chants, amulets, or offerings. Shamans, priests, and medicine men acted as intermediaries between the patient and the divine, employing a combination of psychology, ritual, and social authority to promote wellness. In some cases, the act of ritual itself had a measurable effect, reducing stress, anxiety, and the perception of pain, which could influence recovery. Observation of animals also informed early healing practices. Humans learned by watching how animals consumed specific plants when sick, used mud or clays to cover wounds, or sought water with minerals. This ethnobiological knowledge was incorporated into herbal remedies and external treatments. For example, bees and honey were used to treat infections because of their antibacterial properties. a practice inspired by observing how bees sealed and preserved honey in their hives. Preventive measures were an important component of health. People developed hygiene practices such as washing, sweeping living areas, and segregating the sick, sometimes informed by trial and error experiences. Quarantines and isolation for contagious individuals were practiced long before germ theory was understood. Clothing and bedding were managed to reduce lice and parasites, and smoke or herbs were used to purify air, reflecting an early understanding of sanitation and environmental health. Mind-body connection was acknowledged intuitively. Emotional and psychological well-being was considered integral to physical health. Music, storytelling, meditation, and social support were employed to lift spirits, reduce anxiety, and foster resilience. Healing was rarely only physical. It encompassed the totality of human experience, integrating body, mind, and spirit. The combination of herbs, diet, physical therapy, water treatments, spiritual rituals, preventive practices, and psychological care formed a holistic approach to health. While some remedies were effective, others were symbolic or placebo-based, yet both contributed to survival and cultural cohesion. Communities without medicine learned to rely on observation, resourcefulness, and tradition, creating a complex body of knowledge that persisted for centuries. In the next part, we will explore herbal remedies in depth, detailing specific plants, their preparations, and the ailments they were believed to cure, providing a comprehensive look at how humans harnessed nature to heal without medicine. Herbs and plants were the foundation of healing in societies that lacked modern medicine. Early humans discovered through observation, experimentation, and tradition that certain plants could alleviate pain, reduce fever, heal wounds, and support overall health. The knowledge of these remedies was carefully preserved and passed down through generations, forming the basis of herbal medicine traditions that spanned continents. Roots and barks were among the most valued plant parts. Willow bark, for instance, contains salicin, a natural painkiller and anti-inflammatory agent. Ancient healers would crush the bark and brew it into a tea to reduce fever and relieve headaches. Similarly, licorice root was used for digestive issues and sore throats, while ginger root was prized for its warming properties, alleviating nausea and colic. In many cultures, decoctions boiling the root or bark to extract active compounds were common because the heat released the medicinal properties effectively. Leaves and flowers offered an array of therapeutic uses. Chamomile flowers were steeped into soothing teas to calm the nerves, reduce digestive discomfort, and promote restful sleep. Peppermint leaves were used for stomach ailments and headaches, while lavender was valued for its calming and antiseptic qualities. The flexibility of leaves and flowers made them suitable for infusions, poultices, or aromatic treatments, and their gentle effects were often combined with other herbs for synergistic benefits. Seeds and grains also contributed to healing. Fennel seeds aided digestion and relieved bloating, while flax seeds were used to create soothing liniments or as a dietary supplement for bowel regularity. Mustard seeds were applied to stimulate circulation when made into pastes or plasters. Even simple grains could serve medicinal purposes. For instance, barley water was used to hydrate, soothe fevers, and provide essential nutrients. Herbal combinations were a hallmark of effective remedies. Ancient and medieval healers often mixed several herbs to address multiple symptoms or enhance efficacy. For example, a poultice for wounds might include comfrey for tissue repair, garlic for antimicrobial action, and plantain to reduce inflammation. These combinations reflected centuries of trial and error knowledge, forming intricate recipes recorded in manuscripts or passed orally. Topical applications were widespread. Plant poultices, pastes, and oils were applied to cuts, burns, bruises, and swellings. Comfrey, sometimes called knit bone, was applied to broken limbs and sprains to encourage healing. Calendula flowers were infused into oils to reduce inflammation and promote skin regeneration. These topical remedies were often prepared fresh or preserved in oils, fats, or waxes, maximizing their shelf life and potency. Teas and infusions were the most common internal remedies. Leaves, flowers, roots, or barks were boiled or steeped in water to create medicinal drinks. Fever reducers, digestive aids, and calming preparations were all administered as teas, making them accessible and easy to consume. Sweeteners like honey were sometimes added to improve taste while contributing antibacterial properties. Herbs with antimicrobial properties were crucial in an era without antibiotics. Garlic, onion, thyme, sage, and rosemary were used to fight infections and preserve foods. Honey, often combined with herbs, was applied to wounds to prevent gangrene or infection. While the precise mechanisms were unknown, the empirical effectiveness of these remedies saved countless lives. Herbal treatments also extended to mental health. Valerian, chamomile, and lemon balm were used to alleviate anxiety, insomnia, and stress. Early healers recognized the connection between mental and physical health, prescribing calming herbs to restore balance. Rituals, meditation, and social support were often combined with these herbs to enhance efficacy. Spices as medicine played a dual role in both flavoring and healing. Cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and cardamom were considered warming, stimulating, and sometimes antiseptic. While expensive and primarily available to the wealthy, they were incorporated into remedies for digestive discomfort, infections, and general malaise. Spices reflected the convergence of culinary and medical knowledge in societies that valued health and taste. Herbal knowledge was preserved through texts and oral tradition. Works such as Dioscorides de Materia Medica and Hildegard of Bingen's writings compiled extensive knowledge about plants, their preparation, and application. In rural areas, local herbalists and wise women maintained this knowledge orally, ensuring that even communities far from formal centers of learning had access to effective remedies. Effectiveness and placebo effects were intertwined. While some remedies worked due to the biochemical properties of the plants, others succeeded because of ritual, expectation, or care. The act of preparing, administering, and consuming herbal remedies engaged both patient and healer, fostering psychological comfort and promoting healing through belief and attention. Safety and caution were essential. Some herbs, like belladonna or hemlock, were toxic if misused. Knowledge of dosages, preparation, and timing was critical, and mistakes could be fatal. Experienced healers learned to balance efficacy and safety, often relying on apprenticeship and observation to pass on wisdom. In sum, herbal remedies formed a comprehensive and sophisticated system of natural medicine, addressing physical, mental, and spiritual health. They were the first line of defense against illness, injury, and infection, and their use demonstrates humanity's capacity for observation, experimentation, and adaptation. In the absence of modern medicine, plants were not only sustenance, but tools of survival, comfort, and recovery. In the next part, we will explore diet, nutrition, and fasting as healing strategies, showing how people used food and eating practices to restore health, prevent disease, and support recovery from illness. Long before pharmacies and clinics, people understood that what they ate could heal them, prevent illness, or restore strength. Diet was considered a cornerstone of health, and specific foods were prescribed for particular ailments. From the common peasant household to royal courts, food was viewed not merely as sustenance but as a therapeutic tool, influencing the body, mind, and spirit. Foundational principles of diet as medicine were rooted in the humoral theory, which dominated much of ancient and medieval European thought. According to this system, the body contained four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, each linked to specific qualities: hot, cold, wet, and dry. Illness was thought to arise from imbalances among these humors, and diet was one of the primary ways to restore equilibrium. Foods were classified according to their qualities. For instance, garlic and mustard were hot, cooling vegetables like cucumbers were cold, and fatty meats were wet and nourishing. By choosing foods aligned with the patient's humoral needs, healers aimed to restore balance and vitality. Vegetables and grains were central to restorative diets. For centuries, soups, porridges, and pottages provided both calories and medicinal value. Oatmeal and barley porridge were common for the weak or convalescing, as they were easy to digest, high in energy, and could be enriched with herbs or honey. Legumes, lentils, peas, beans provided protein for healing muscles and tissue, especially when fresh meat was unavailable. Seasonal vegetables were valued not only for nutrition but for their perceived humoral properties, helping to correct imbalances and strengthen the body. Fruits played a dual role in nourishment and remedy. Apples, pears, plums, and berries were eaten fresh, stewed, or dried, providing essential vitamins and minerals. Certain fruits were prescribed for specific conditions: citrus to ward off scurvy, dried figs or dates for digestive health, and sour fruits to stimulate appetite and digestion. Sweeteners like honey, aside from flavoring foods, had antibacterial properties, helped with throat infections, and provided energy for weakened patients. Proteins, fats, and animal products were carefully incorporated. Meat, fish, eggs, and dairy were used strategically to restore strength after illness or injury. Broths and consoms provided hydration, calories, and easily digestible protein, while fats like butter or lard were added to increase energy density. Fish was especially valued on fasting days and for people with digestive or humoral restrictions, as it was considered lighter and more cooling than red meat. Spices and flavorings were often prescribed for both taste and therapeutic effect. Pepper, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves were used in small quantities to stimulate digestion, circulation, or appetite. Spices were expensive, so they were more common in wealthy households, but their role extended beyond flavor. They were believed to influence the body's humors and promote healing. Fasting and dietary restriction were widely employed as medical interventions. Periodic fasting was thought to purge toxins, restore humoral balance, and improve spiritual focus. Monastic communities, for example, practiced regulated fasting for both health and piety. Controlled fasting was often combined with light herbal teas, broths, or diluted juices to sustain strength while promoting internal cleansing. Even outside religious settings, short-term fasting or simplified diets were recommended for fevers, digestive disorders, or inflammatory conditions. Fermented foods and beverages also contributed to health. Yogurt, cheese, sauerkraut, and fermented grains provided probiotics that supported digestion and intestinal health. Fermented drinks like small beer, cider, and kefir offered calories, hydration, and mild antiseptic properties. Though the scientific basis for probiotics was unknown, the empirical benefits were recognized, and such foods were often included in convalescent diets. Hydration was considered vital. Herbal teas, broths, diluted fruit juices, and water infused with minerals or herbs were prescribed for hydration and internal cleansing. Proper hydration helped alleviate fevers, improve digestion, and support recovery from illness. Water was often boiled or filtered through herbs to reduce contamination, showing an intuitive understanding of hygiene. Meal timing and portioning were also seen as part of healing. Small, frequent meals were recommended for the weak or sick, allowing the body to digest easily and absorb nutrients efficiently. Overeating was discouraged, as it was believed to disrupt humoral balance and burden the digestive system. The concept of moderation, whether in quantity, timing, or food type, was central to maintaining health. Special diets for specific ailments became common. For example, patients with digestive troubles were given easily digestible grains, boiled vegetables, and mild herbs. Those with fevers or inflammation were given cooling foods like cucumbers, yogurt, or fruit compotes. Wounds or chronic weakness were treated with nutrient-rich foods such as eggs, broth, and fatty meats. This early form of personalized nutrition reflects an understanding that food can directly influence recovery and health outcomes. Integration with other healing methods enhanced effectiveness. Dietary interventions were often combined with herbal remedies, physical therapy, bathing, and spiritual rituals. For example, a convalescent might drink chamomile tea, eat soft barley porridge, rest in a warm bath, and engage in prayer, all designed to strengthen body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. In sum, diet and nutrition were cornerstones of self-healing in societies without medicine. Food was both sustenance and medicine, carefully selected for its properties, prepared for digestibility, and consumed to restore strength and balance. Humoral theory, empirical observation, and cultural practices combine to make eating a deliberate and therapeutic act. In the next part, we will explore water and hydrotherapy as healing tools, examining how people used baths, hot springs, cold plunges, and water treatments to treat illnesses, injuries, and infections. Water has long been recognized as a source of healing, cleansing, and restoration, even in societies without modern medicine. From the simplest home bath to natural springs believed to have miraculous powers, water-based treatments played a central role in health practices across cultures. Medieval people, drawing from ancient traditions, understood that soaking, washing, and immersing the body in water could alleviate illness, soothe pain, and restore vitality. Bathing and cleanliness were foundational aspects of water therapy. Even before the germ theory of disease, people recognized that washing the body could prevent illness. Regular bathing helped remove sweat, dirt, and parasites, which were associated with disease and discomfort. In many communities, public bathhouses or communal baths provided a social setting for hygiene, while also offering therapeutic hot water treatments for muscles, joints, and skin conditions. Though attitudes toward bathing varied across time and region, water remained central to preventive health. Hot baths and thermal treatments were widely used. Heated water was known to relax stiff muscles, reduce joint pain, and improve circulation. Monastic infirmaries and wealthy households often had facilities to warm water for the sick, allowing them to soak injured limbs or ease fevers. Hot baths could also be infused with herbs such as chamomile, rosemary, or lavender, adding aromatic and medicinal benefits. The combination of heat, water, and herbs made these treatments both soothing and functional. Cold water therapy was another practice with surprising benefits. Cold plunges, river immersions, or ice baths were used to reduce inflammation, invigorate the body, and strengthen immunity. Athletes, laborers, and the convalescent often practiced controlled cold exposure to revitalize energy and stimulate circulation. In some traditions, alternating hot and cold baths was believed to balance humors, flush toxins, and restore overall health. Natural springs and mineral waters were considered particularly potent. Across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, communities traveled to natural springs believed to have healing properties. These waters often contained minerals such as sulfur, iron, or salt, thought to cure skin conditions, digestive issues, and chronic pain. Pilgrimages to sacred springs were common, blending spiritual belief with empirical observation. People reported improvements in conditions such as arthritis, skin lesions, and digestive ailments after repeated immersion or drinking the waters. Hydrotherapy for wounds and injuries was widely practiced, soaking cuts, bruises, or burns in clean water, sometimes with added herbs or salts, helped reduce infection and promote healing. Compresses or poultices soaked in water were applied to inflamed joints or swollen tissues, providing cooling relief and preventing further damage. Even without understanding the microscopic causes of infection, these practices had practical benefits in cleaning wounds and supporting tissue recovery. Steam and vapor therapy also emerged as a form of hydrotherapy. Steam rooms, saunas, or simple tents with heated stones and water were used to induce sweating, believed to expel impurities and restore balance to the body. Herbal infusions added to the steam provided additional medicinal properties, such as opening nasal passages, alleviating congestion, or calming respiratory discomfort. These methods demonstrated an early understanding of detoxification and the therapeutic effects of heat combined with water. Bathing rituals for mental health were significant. Hot or warm baths promoted relaxation, reduced anxiety, and eased stress-related symptoms. The sensory experience of water, its warmth, sound, and tactile sensation provided comfort and a sense of renewal. Combined with herbal aromas, meditative practices, or quiet reflection, bathing became a holistic treatment that addressed both mind and body. Hydration and drinking water were also integral to healing. Clean, fresh water was essential for digestion, circulation, and organ function. Herbal infusions and decoctions not only provided medicinal benefits but also encouraged fluid intake, preventing dehydration and supporting recovery from fever, diarrhea, or heat exhaustion. The choice of water sources, springs, wells, and streams reflected both empirical observation and cultural beliefs about purity and potency. Thermal and hydrotherapy treatments in communal settings reinforced social bonds. Bathhouses, hot springs, and mineral spas were places where people shared knowledge about remedies, exchanged health advice, and supported one another in recovery. The communal aspect of hydrotherapy highlights how health practices were intertwined with social cohesion and cultural traditions. Integration with other healing methods enhanced the effectiveness of hydrotherapy. Soaking in herbal baths could be combined with dietary adjustments, massage, meditation, or spiritual rituals. For example, a patient with joint pain might rest in a warm herbal bath, receive a gentle massage, drink nutrient-rich broth, and participate in prayer or meditation. This holistic approach addressed multiple aspects of health simultaneously, reflecting a deep understanding of interconnected well-being. Preventive uses of water were equally important. Regular bathing, steam treatments, and clean water consumption helped prevent disease outbreaks, reduce parasitic infestations, and maintain hygiene. Communities that valued water hygiene often experienced fewer infections, demonstrating an intuitive grasp of environmental health practices. In conclusion, water and hydrotherapy served as both a practical and symbolic tool for healing. From cleansing and hydration to immersion in thermal or mineral-rich waters, water treatments promoted recovery, alleviated pain, and nurtured mental well-being. Even without modern medicine, medieval people understood the profound restorative powers of water, integrating it into daily routines, rituals, and medical practices. In the next part, we will explore physical therapies, massage, and movement, revealing how medieval societies used manual techniques and exercise to heal injuries, restore function, and maintain strength. In societies without modern medicine, physical therapies were essential tools for healing, addressing injuries, muscular pain, joint stiffness, and general weakness. Long before physiotherapy and rehabilitation clinics, people developed techniques to manipulate, stretch, and stimulate the body, often combining observation, trial and error, and traditional knowledge. These practices formed a critical component of self-healing and community care, demonstrating a deep understanding of anatomy and function even if framed in pre-scientific concepts. Massage and manual manipulation were widely practiced. Skilled hands, whether belonging to healers, family members, or specialized practitioners, were used to relieve tension, reduce swelling, and promote circulation. Techniques included rubbing, kneading, pressing, and tapping muscles and joints. Simple massages helped alleviate muscular fatigue from labor-intensive work, while more targeted manipulations addressed injuries like sprains or minor fractures. Even without anesthesia, careful pressure and positioning could significantly reduce pain and encourage faster recovery. Joint therapy and mobility exercises were employed to restore function after injury. Ancient practitioners noticed that immobility could worsen conditions, while gentle movement supported healing. Patients with sprained ankles, stiff shoulders, or sore backs were guided through slow, repetitive motions designed to strengthen surrounding muscles and improve flexibility. In some cultures, ropes, straps, or simple splints were used to support joints during exercise, preventing further damage while enabling controlled motion. Traction and splinting were early forms of orthopedic care. Broken or dislocated bones were realigned and immobilized using splints made from wood reeds or cloth. Traction, achieved by applying steady tension, helped set fractures properly and reduce deformity. While primitive compared to modern casts, these techniques were effective when combined with herbal poultices or topical treatments to prevent infection and reduce inflammation. Heat and cold applications were integrated into physical therapy. Warm compresses and heated stones were applied to sore muscles and joints to relieve stiffness, improve circulation, and relax tissue. Conversely, cold applications, such as water immersion, ice, or cold herbal compresses, reduced swelling, numbed pain, and prevented further tissue damage. Alternating heat and cold was sometimes used to stimulate circulation and promote healing. Exercise, as a preventive and restorative tool, was recognized across cultures. Manual labor, walking, and simple calisthenics strengthened the body, improved flexibility, and promoted overall health. Communities encouraged movement to maintain strength and balance, recognizing that a sedentary lifestyle could exacerbate illness and injury. For the sick or convalescent, tailored exercises supported recovery without overexertion, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of rehabilitation principles. Hydrotherapy combined with movement enhanced physical healing. Patients were immersed in warm baths or mineral springs and guided through gentle exercises to loosen stiff joints and improve mobility. Water reduced the weight load on the body, allowing safer movement for injured or weak individuals. Such practices are the precursors to modern aquatic therapy, showing how water was leveraged for both medicinal and physical recovery. Pressure points and touch-based therapy were observed in various cultures. Some believed that manipulating specific areas of the body could release energy, restore balance, or alleviate pain. While framed in terms of humors, chi, or vital energy, these techniques often had real physiological benefits, such as stimulating circulation or reducing muscle tension. Skilled practitioners combined knowledge of anatomy with intuition to apply targeted pressure effectively. Manual therapy for chronic conditions was also common. Arthritis, rheumatism, and repetitive strain injuries were managed with massage, gentle exercise, and supportive devices. Herbs, oils, and liniments were frequently applied during massage to enhance circulation, reduce inflammation, and soothe discomfort. Patients were guided in daily routines to maintain flexibility and prevent further deterioration. Integration with diet and herbal remedies amplified results. Physical therapy was rarely conducted in isolation. It was combined with proper nutrition, herbal poultices, and hydration to optimize healing. A patient recovering from a fracture might receive a nutritious broth, apply a comfrey poultice to the affected limb, and participate in gentle exercises addressing multiple facets of health simultaneously. Psychological benefits of physical therapy were significant. The active touch, movement, and guided rehabilitation provided comfort, reassurance, and a sense of agency. Patients often felt less anxious, more hopeful, and actively engaged in their own recovery, demonstrating an early understanding of the mind-body connection in healing. Community and familial involvement were essential. Family members and neighbors frequently assisted with massage, splinting, and exercise guidance, ensuring that care continued outside of professional healers' supervision. This communal approach reinforced social bonds while providing practical support for recovery. Preventive physical practices were equally valued. Stretching, labor, walking, and body maintenance helped prevent musculoskeletal issues and promoted overall resilience. In agrarian societies, daily work served as both livelihood and therapy, keeping the body strong and flexible. In conclusion, physical therapies provided critical support for healing without medicine. Through massage, exercise, splinting, and hydrotherapy, medieval and early modern communities managed injuries, reduced pain, and preserved mobility. By combining empirical observation, tactile skill, and holistic approaches, these societies demonstrated an advanced understanding of the body's capacity to heal and adapt. In the next part, we will explore spiritual and ritual healing, examining how prayer, amulets, charms, and faith-based practices were used to treat illness and promote recovery without conventional medicine. In societies without modern medicine, spiritual and ritual healing played a central role in restoring health. Illness was often understood not only as a physical problem but also as a disruption of spiritual balance, divine will, or supernatural forces. Healing practices therefore combined faith, ritual, and symbolic actions, aiming to address both the body and the soul. These practices reveal how humans have historically used belief and ritual to cope with disease, reduce suffering, and promote recovery. Prayer and religious intercession were among the most common forms of spiritual healing. Individuals, families, and communities often turned to deities, saints, or ancestral spirits for protection and cure. Monks, priests, shamans, or holy women performed prayers, blessings, and chants over the sick, invoking divine assistance. Repeated recitation of sacred texts or mantras was believed to strengthen the patient's vitality and encourage the body's natural healing processes. Even when the physical efficacy of prayer was not measurable, it provided comfort, reduced anxiety, and fostered a sense of hope and support. Amulets, talismans, and charms were widely used as protective and curative tools. Objects inscribed with symbols, prayers, or mystical signs were worn on the body or placed near the patient to ward off illness and evil spirits. Materials ranged from metals and stones to plant parts or small carvings, each believed to possess intrinsic protective or healing power. In some traditions, the act of creating or consecrating an amulet itself was considered therapeutic, engaging both the healer and the patient in a focused ritual of protection. Divination and diagnosis through ritual often guided treatment. Healers interpreted signs, dreams, or the alignment of natural elements to determine the cause of illness. For example, the movement of stars, the phases of the moon, or patterns in natural phenomena were sometimes used to diagnose imbalances in the body or predict the course of disease. These methods reflected a holistic worldview, linking the patient's health to cosmic and environmental forces. Sacred water, oils, and herbs were commonly used in rituals. Holy water, anointed oils, or herbal consecrations were applied to the body, ingested or used in baths to cleanse, protect, or heal. Rosemary, sage, and other aromatic herbs were often burned as incense to purify spaces and drive away malevolent spirits, reducing the perceived influence of supernatural causes of illness. The combination of sensory stimulation, symbolic meaning, and herbal properties created a multidimensional healing experience. Healing pilgrimage sites and sacred springs were significant across many cultures. People traveled long distances to visit shrines, temples, or natural springs reputed to have curative powers. Immersion, drinking the waters, or performing ritual acts at these sites often resulted in perceived or actual improvements in health. The social and psychological benefits of pilgrimage, community support, purpose, and faith-enhanced recovery alongside any physical effects of the environment or water. Shamans, medicine men, and religious specialists served as intermediaries between the patient and spiritual forces. These healers combined herbal knowledge, ritual expertise, and social authority to treat illness. Their methods might include chanting, drumming, trance induction, laying on of hands or symbolic gestures to realign spiritual energies. Even when framed in terms of superstition, many of these techniques had tangible psychological and physiological benefits, such as relaxation, pain reduction, and stress relief. Exorcism and ritual purification were sometimes used for illnesses believed to be caused by possession, curses, or malevolent spirits. The ceremonies often involved a combination of prayer, chanting, fasting, and physical purification, designed to cleanse the individual and restore balance. While not medically conventional, these practices demonstrated an understanding that emotional and spiritual well-being could influence physical health. Fasting, meditation, and ascetic practices were frequently integrated into spiritual healing. Abstaining from certain foods, observing strict regimens, or engaging in prolonged meditation was thought to purify the body and soul, strengthen resilience, and align the individual with divine will. These practices often coincided with herbal therapies and dietary adjustments, producing a comprehensive approach to self-healing. Community rituals and shared healing events reinforced social support and collective belief. Public prayers, blessings, and festivals addressed illness as a communal concern, providing psychological comfort and practical aid. The social cohesion fostered by communal healing often enhanced recovery as patients received attention, care, and reassurance from their networks. Integration with physical and herbal therapies enhanced the efficacy of spiritual healing. Patients frequently combined prayer, ritual, or amulets with herbal remedies, massage, baths, and dietary measures. For example, a patient might consume a calming herbal infusion, receive a massage to relax tense muscles, and participate in prayer or meditation addressing multiple layers of health simultaneously. Psychological effects of spiritual healing were profound. Faith, ritual, and symbolic practices reduced stress, anxiety, and fear, which in turn could lower inflammation, improve sleep, and strengthen immune function. The mere act of participating in a structured healing ritual often gave patients a sense of agency and hope, contributing to measurable improvements in well-being. Cultural transmission of ritual knowledge ensured continuity across generations. Manuscripts, oral traditions, and apprenticeship systems preserved methods, prayers, and symbolic practices. Even as medical knowledge evolved, the cultural memory of ritual healing influenced health practices and community care well into the modern era. In summary, spiritual and ritual healing addressed both the seen and unseen aspects of illness. By combining faith, symbolic action, prayer, and sacred objects, communities provided comfort, promoted recovery, and maintained social cohesion. Even in the absence of modern medicine, these practices reveal an early understanding of the mind-body connection and the profound influence of belief on health outcomes. In the next part, we will examine preventive measures and hygiene, exploring how medieval societies minimized disease through sanitation, quarantine, and environmental awareness. Long before the development of modern medicine, prevention was a key strategy for maintaining health. Medieval and early modern societies, often facing contagious diseases, parasites, and unsanitary conditions, developed a variety of hygiene practices, environmental measures, and social customs aimed at reducing illness and promoting longevity. While the scientific principles behind germs and bacteria were unknown, practical observation and cultural wisdom informed effective preventive strategies that helped communities survive in challenging conditions. Personal hygiene was central to prevention. Regular washing of the body, hair, and hands helped remove dirt, sweat, and parasites that could lead to infections or skin conditions. Bathing frequency varied by region, climate, and social status, but even modest cleaning routines reduced the burden of disease. Soap, often made from animal fats and plant ashes, was used where available, while scented herbs helped mask odors and were sometimes believed to provide protection against illness. Brushing teeth with cloth frayed sticks or mixtures of herbs and ashes was practiced in some regions, promoting oral health long before modern dentistry. Clothing hygiene played an important role in reducing exposure to lice, fleas, and other parasites. People frequently changed garments, washed linen, and aired bedding to prevent infestations. Clothing also served as a barrier against environmental hazards, keeping the body warm and protected from exposure, which was associated with colds, fevers, and respiratory illness. Wealthier households could maintain multiple sets of clean garments, while peasants relied on simpler measures, such as airing and sun-drying fabrics. Sanitation in living spaces was a key preventive measure. Streets, homes, and communal areas were often swept and cleared of waste, even if primitive by modern standards. Midden heaps and cesspits were located away from water sources to reduce contamination, reflecting an intuitive understanding of environmental hygiene. Ventilation and smoke from hearth fires were sometimes used to purify the air in homes, combating miasma, the belief that bad air caused disease. Water hygiene was another critical factor. Communities sought clean water for drinking, cooking, and bathing. Wells, springs, and streams were preferred sources, and water was sometimes boiled or filtered through cloth or herbs to reduce contamination. Boiling water or using herbal infusions for drinking not only killed some pathogens, but also offered medicinal benefits from the herbs themselves. Awareness of waterborne illnesses, though not scientifically framed, influenced settlement patterns and daily practices. Food hygiene helped prevent illness related to spoilage, contamination, and parasites. Food was often cooked thoroughly, salted, smoked, or fermented to preserve it safely. Fruits and vegetables were washed, and dairy products were boiled or fermented to extend shelf life and reduce the risk of disease. Observing animal behavior and seasonal changes guided communities in determining which foods were safe to eat, reflecting empirical knowledge passed down over generations. Quarantine and isolation were employed to prevent the spread of contagious disease. People who showed symptoms of plague, fevers, or skin conditions were often separated from healthy individuals. Entire households or communities could be quarantined during outbreaks. Ports and trade centers sometimes required inspection and isolation of travelers or goods to reduce the introduction of disease from other regions. These measures, though rudimentary, often limited the spread of epidemics. Environmental awareness extended to the control of pests and waste. Rodents, insects, and stagnant water were recognized as sources of illness, prompting efforts to remove refuse, clean storage areas, and avoid standing water. Smoke herbs and other natural repellents were used to discourage flies, mosquitoes, and vermin, reducing the risk of disease transmission. Gardens and cultivated spaces were maintained with attention to sanitation and crop rotation, which indirectly supported food safety and health. Seasonal practices influenced preventive measures. Communities adapted clothing, diet, and activity levels to the climate, using warm foods, indoor fires, and protective clothing in winter, while emphasizing hydration, like diets, and bathing in summer. Seasonal festivals and communal rituals often incorporated hygiene practices and cleansing rituals, reinforcing preventive health culturally and socially. Behavioral hygiene included avoidance of known hazards. People learned to recognize patterns of disease transmission, such as avoiding sick individuals, steering clear of stagnant water, or refraining from certain foods during particular times of the year. These practices combined observation, superstition, and empirical knowledge, creating a body of preventive wisdom that protected populations in the absence of modern medicine. Integration with herbal and spiritual practices enhanced prevention. Herbs with antimicrobial properties were burned, sprinkled, or worn as amulets to repel disease. Ritual cleansing, prayer, and protective charms were used alongside practical measures, reflecting a holistic approach to avoiding illness. Spiritual and psychological reassurance also played a preventive role, reducing stress and strengthening the body's resilience. Public health measures emerged in towns and cities. Waste disposal, water supply management, and the establishment of bathhouses or communal washing facilities helped prevent outbreaks. Regulations around food markets, butchers, and animal husbandry reflected awareness of infection risks and the importance of environmental management. Even when based on humoral or miasmatic theory, these measures had real benefits in reducing disease incidence. Education and knowledge transmission were essential for hygiene and prevention. Advice on personal care, diet, and environmental cleanliness was passed down through family instruction, apprenticeships, and written manuscripts. Practical wisdom ensured that even communities without formal medical practitioners could implement effective preventive measures. In conclusion, preventive measures and hygiene were critical strategies for survival before modern medicine. Personal cleanliness, clothing care, sanitation, water management, food safety, quarantine, and environmental awareness formed an integrated approach to reducing illness. By combining practical knowledge, observation, and cultural customs, medieval societies developed a sophisticated system of preventive health, reflecting humanity's enduring capacity to adapt and protect itself in the face of disease. In the next part, we will explore sleep, rest, and relaxation as healing methods, highlighting how restorative practices were used to recover from illness and maintain overall health. Even before modern medicine, people recognized that rest and restorative sleep were essential for maintaining health and supporting recovery from illness. Fatigue, overwork, and emotional stress were understood to weaken the body, leaving it vulnerable to disease. Across cultures, societies developed practices to optimize sleep, promote relaxation, and harness rest as a form of natural healing. Sleep, as a restorative force, was central to pre-modern healing. Observations of the human body and patterns of illness led people to associate prolonged rest with recovery. Fever, injury, and exhaustion prompted advice to sleep longer, remain in bed, and avoid strenuous activity. Even without scientific understanding of circadian rhythms or immune function, the benefits of uninterrupted rest were empirically recognized. Proper sleep allowed the body to regain strength, repair tissue, and stabilize the mind, forming a natural adjunct to herbal remedies, dietary measures, and physical therapies. Daily routines were often aligned with natural cycles. Sunrise and sunset guided work, meal, and rest schedules. Daylight was used for labor, while evening provided opportunities for quiet reflection and sleep. Monastic communities, for instance, structured the day around prayer, work, and rest, recognizing that alternating periods of activity and calm supported both physical and spiritual well-being. Seasonal variations also influenced sleep patterns, with longer rest periods in winter to conserve energy and shorter intervals in summer to take advantage of daylight. Naps and intermittent rest were common strategies for maintaining energy. Laborers, travelers, and the sick often took short periods of rest during the day to prevent exhaustion. These breaks helped the body recover from physical strain, reduced stress, and maintained mental alertness, demonstrating an early understanding of cumulative fatigue and its impact on health. Sleeping environments were designed for comfort and protection. Beds were raised to avoid drafts and damp floors, often layered with straw blankets or furs to insulate against cold. Pillows supported the head, and curtains or canopies were used to block light, noise, or insects. These measures not only improved sleep quality but also reduced exposure to environmental stressors that could exacerbate illness. Aromatics and herbal remedies were integrated into sleep practices. Lavender, chamomile, valerian, and other calming herbs were used as pillows, infusions, or sachets to induce relaxation and promote restful sleep. The gentle scent of these plants created a soothing environment that encouraged deep rest and reduced anxiety or agitation. Herbal teas consumed before bedtime were another common method of aiding relaxation and facilitating restorative sleep. Meditation, prayer, and quiet reflection supported relaxation and recovery. Spiritual or mental practices help reduce stress and calm the mind, indirectly benefiting physical health. Repetitive chanting, silent contemplation, or prayer before sleep prepared the body for rest, aligning mental and emotional states with the natural healing processes of sleep. Temperature and light regulation were recognized intuitively. Warm rooms and bedding encouraged relaxation, while excessive heat, cold, or light was avoided to prevent disruption of sleep. Even without formal understanding of thermoregulation or circadian biology, people adapted their environments to maximize the restorative effects of rest. Community and social support reinforced restful practices. Families and households coordinated schedules to allow for uninterrupted sleep, especially for the sick. Neighbors, attendants, or family members helped ensure that patients were comfortable, nourished, and undisturbed, demonstrating the social dimension of rest as a therapeutic tool. Rest for mental health was equally valued. Depression, anxiety, or emotional trauma were thought to weaken the body and invite illness. Periods of calm, quiet, and reflective rest were prescribed to restore balance, prevent agitation, and allow emotional processing. By attending to both physical and psychological needs, rest functioned as a comprehensive tool for maintaining health. Integration with other healing methods amplified the benefits of sleep. Herbal remedies, proper nutrition, hydrotherapy, and massage were combined with structured rest to promote optimal recovery. A patient recovering from fever, for instance, might be given herbal tea kept in a warm, quiet room and massaged gently before sleep, ensuring that both the body and mind were supported simultaneously. Rest as prevention was also emphasized. Adequate sleep was believed to strengthen the body against disease, maintain humoral balance, and sustain energy for daily work. In agrarian and urban societies alike, periods of rest were carefully managed to conserve strength, reduce fatigue, and enhance resilience against infections, injuries, and environmental stressors. In conclusion, sleep, rest, and relaxation were recognized as essential components of healing. By aligning routines with natural cycles, optimizing sleep environments, integrating herbs and spiritual practices, and supporting mental well-being, medieval and early modern societies harnessed the power of restorative rest. Even in the absence of modern medicine, they intuitively understood that recovery depended not only on remedies and treatments, but also on giving the body time to repair, rejuvenate, and restore balance. In the next part, we will explore mental and emotional therapies, revealing how early societies addressed psychological health through music, storytelling, meditation, and social support. In societies without modern medicine, people recognized that the mind and emotions played a crucial role in health. Illness was often seen as not purely physical but influenced by stress, fear, grief, or spiritual imbalance. As a result, early healing practices incorporated mental and emotional therapies alongside herbal, dietary, and physical remedies. By addressing the psyche, communities helped maintain resilience, reduce suffering, and promote recovery. Music and sound therapy were widely used to soothe the mind and body. In many cultures, music was believed to restore harmony to the soul, reduce agitation, and alleviate anxiety. Melodic chanting, instrumental music, or rhythmic drumming was employed in religious rituals, communal gatherings, and private spaces. Patients with insomnia, depression, or nervous disorders were often exposed to gentle music or rhythmic sounds, which created a calming environment and facilitated restorative sleep, meditation, or relaxation. Storytelling and narrative therapy played an important role in emotional healing. Tales, myths, and parables were shared orally to educate, inspire, and distract from suffering. The act of listening or recounting stories provided psychological comfort, offered coping strategies, and reinforced social norms and moral guidance. Storytelling also created a sense of connection, reducing isolation for the sick or convalescent. Meditation and contemplation were practiced to strengthen mental resilience and restore emotional balance. Silent reflection, prayer, or visualization techniques helped individuals regulate emotions, reduce anxiety, and focus attention on recovery. Monastic communities, hermits, and healers emphasized structured periods of contemplation, sometimes combined with controlled breathing or visualization, to promote inner calm and facilitate healing processes. Social support and community care were integral to mental well-being. Families, neighbors, and caregivers provided companionship, practical assistance, and reassurance to the sick. Emotional support reduced stress, improved mood, and created an environment conducive to healing. In communal societies, visiting the ill, sharing meals, or participating in group rituals fostered belonging and purpose, which contributed to both psychological and physical recovery. Humor and laughter were also valued as therapeutic tools. Festivities, playful interactions, and jokes were believed to lift the spirit and promote vitality. Even in times of hardship, the ability to evoke joy was seen as strengthening the body and mind, reducing tension, and improving overall health. Rituals and symbolic actions addressed emotional and psychological concerns. Protective charms, blessings, and purification ceremonies offered reassurance and reduced fear. The psychological impact of feeling protected or guided by a higher power often decreased anxiety, which in turn positively influenced physical symptoms such as pain, insomnia, or appetite loss. Creative expression through art, music, or crafts was used to manage emotions and support mental recovery. Patients engaged in drawing, weaving, carving, or singing as a means of focusing attention, reducing stress, and fostering self-efficacy. These activities not only occupied the mind but also provided tangible outcomes, reinforcing a sense of accomplishment and agency during periods of illness. Connection with nature was another key element of mental and emotional therapy. Exposure to sunlight, fresh air, rivers, forests, or gardens improved mood, alleviated stress, and contributed to overall well-being. People recognized the restorative effects of walking in natural surroundings, observing wildlife, or tending gardens, integrating environmental engagement into therapeutic routines. Diet and herbal remedies also supported mental health. Herbs like chamomile, valerian, lemon balm, and peppermint were used to calm the nervous system, alleviate anxiety, and improve sleep. Nutrient-rich foods supported brain function and energy levels, highlighting the interplay between physical nourishment and emotional stability. Preventive mental practices were encouraged to maintain resilience. Daily routines, structured work, and rest cycles, meditation, prayer, and social engagement were all used to strengthen the mind against stress, grief, or fear. By cultivating mental fortitude, people reduced susceptibility to illness and enhanced recovery from physical ailments. Integration with other healing methods amplified benefits. Mental and emotional therapies were combined with physical care, herbal treatments, dietary adjustments, and spiritual practices. For example, a convalescent might drink calming herbal tea, engage in storytelling, listen to music, receive massage, and participate in prayer or ritual addressing the full spectrum of mind and body. In summary, mental and emotional therapies were essential to holistic healing in societies without medicine. Music, storytelling, meditation, social support, creative expression, and connection with nature helped regulate emotions, reduce stress, and enhance resilience. Recognizing the interplay between mind and body, early societies fostered environments that supported both psychological and physical recovery, illustrating a sophisticated understanding of human well-being. In the next part, we will explore sleep and dream-based diagnostics, examining how medieval and early modern cultures interpreted dreams to guide health decisions and anticipate illness. In medieval and early modern societies, dreams were more than mere reflections of the subconscious. They were considered windows into the body, mind, and spirit. Sleep was not only a time for rest and restoration, but also a period during which hidden imbalances, future ailments, and spiritual disturbances could reveal themselves. Healers and lay people alike paid careful attention to dreams as a diagnostic and prognostic tool, integrating sleep observation into holistic approaches to health. The significance of dreams was rooted in cultural and spiritual beliefs. Illness was often seen as a disruption of harmony within the body or between the body and the spiritual realm. Dreams, as manifestations of this disharmony, were interpreted as signs of existing or impending disease. For example, vivid nightmares might be read as an indication of fever or infection, while recurring dreams of water, fire, or blood could symbolize organ-specific imbalances according to humoral theory. Dreams provided guidance for both the patient and the healer, serving as a natural warning system. Healers and dream interpreters played a central role in this process. Monks, priests, wise women, and experienced herbalists often recorded, discussed, and interpreted dreams. They assessed the symbolism, imagery, and emotions associated with the dream to determine the nature and location of the illness. Certain recurring motifs such as falling, darkness, or encountering animals were linked to specific conditions. Interpretation required extensive knowledge, intuition, and familiarity with traditional texts or local lore. Sleep patterns themselves were diagnostic. Observing how a person slept, whether restlessly, excessively, or lightly, provided clues about their health. Restless or fragmented sleep was associated with fevers, anxiety, or imbalances in humors, while excessive sleep could indicate weakness, digestive problems, or spiritual afflictions. Dreams, combined with these observations, allowed healers to form a comprehensive understanding of the patient's condition. Dream incubation and guidance were sometimes used therapeutically. Patients might be instructed to sleep in a specific environment, near herbs, or in a ritual space to encourage revealing or healing dreams. Holy sites, sacred baths, or rooms imbued with symbolic objects were thought to facilitate dreams that offered solutions, warnings, or divine guidance for treatment. This practice bridged spiritual belief, ritual, and medical observation. Symbolism in dreams was carefully analyzed. Animals, colors, bodily fluids, and natural phenomena were interpreted according to humoral theory and cultural lore. A dream involving fire might suggest excess heat or inflammation, while water could indicate phlegmatic imbalance. Seeing oneself in danger or experiencing fear was often read as a sign of internal or external threats to health. Dream analysis was thus a form of preemptive diagnosis, helping to guide diet, herbal remedies, and spiritual interventions before symptoms worsened. Dream journals and record-keeping were sometimes maintained by healers or literate individuals. Chronicling sleep patterns, recurring symbols, and dream outcomes allowed for longitudinal observation of health. Such records offered empirical insight into the connections between sleep, mental states, and physical conditions. Even without scientific understanding of neurology or pathology, spiritual dreams were distinguished from purely physical ones. Some dreams were considered messages from the divine ancestors or spirits, providing guidance on appropriate rituals, amulets, or prayers needed to restore health. The interpretation often required discernment between natural symptoms manifesting in sleep and external spiritual communication. Both types of dreams influenced treatment plans. Integration with other healing practices was common. Dream interpretations could inform dietary adjustments, herbal prescriptions, massage routines, or bathing protocols. For instance, the dream suggesting heat imbalance might lead to consumption of cooling herbs and foods, application of cold compresses, and sleep in a ventilated space. This holistic approach demonstrates how symbolic, spiritual, and empirical knowledge were combined in health management. Psychological and emotional effects of dream interpretation were significant. Understanding the meaning of dreams provided reassurance, reduced anxiety, and allowed patients to feel proactive in their care. The mere act of discussing dreams with a knowledgeable healer or participating in dream-related rituals could alleviate emotional stress, indirectly promoting physical recovery. Preventive aspects of dream-based diagnostics were valued. By observing dreams, individuals could identify early signs of illness, adopt preventive measures, and seek intervention before conditions became severe. This practice reflects a sophisticated awareness that subtle signs manifested during sleep could indicate broader health issues requiring attention. Cultural and literary references reinforce the importance of dreams in healing. Texts from European, Middle Eastern, and Asian traditions preserve dream interpretations, linking symbolic imagery to physical, emotional, and spiritual conditions. These writings informed both professional healers and lay practitioners, ensuring continuity of dream-based knowledge across generations. In conclusion, sleep and dreams served as both restorative and diagnostic tools in pre-modern healthcare. By observing sleep patterns, interpreting symbolic imagery, and integrating spiritual belief, medieval societies utilized the night as a source of insight, prevention, and guidance for healing. Dreams provided a unique bridge between body, mind, and spirit, highlighting the holistic approach to health in the absence of modern medicine. In the next part, we will explore the role of magical thinking and superstition in healing, examining how charms, rituals, and folk beliefs were used to address illness and promote well-being. In medieval and early modern societies, magical thinking and folk healing were inseparable from everyday health practices. Illness was not always seen as a purely physical phenomenon. It could be attributed to malevolent forces, curses, spirits, or imbalance in natural energies. As a result, charms, spells, incantations, and folk remedies were widely employed to protect, heal, and restore harmony to the body and spirit. These practices, though often dismissed today as superstition, were integral to holistic approaches to well-being and demonstrate the inventive ways humans attempted to control uncertainty and danger. Charms and amulets were among the most common forms of magical protection. Worn on the body, carried in pockets, or hung in homes, these objects were believed to shield individuals from disease, evil eye, or misfortune. Materials ranged from metal, stones, and shells to pieces of cloth, bones, or wood. Some charms were inscribed with symbols, prayers, or sacred words, amplifying their perceived potency. Beyond physical protection, the psychological effect of carrying a charm, confidence, reassurance, and reduced anxiety also contributed to healing. Spells and incantations were used both preventively and curatively. Spoken aloud, whispered, or chanted over patients, spells invoked divine power, ancestral spirits, or natural forces to remove illness or pain. They were often tailored to the type of ailment. Calming spells for fevers, protective chants for infectious disease, or restorative verses for weakness or injury. The act of performing a ritual spell, often involving repetition and rhythm, also served to focus attention, induce relaxation, and provide a sense of control over one's health. Folk remedies intertwined with magic and herbal knowledge. Many plants, roots, and minerals were believed to possess supernatural properties, in addition to physical effects. For example, rue and garlic were used to repel evil spirits as well as treat digestive issues, while as tea, John's wort might be employed to protect against melancholy or fever. Folk healers blended empirical observation with symbolic and magical attributes, creating remedies that engaged both the body and belief system of the patient. Rituals and ceremonial acts often accompanied the use of magical remedies. Lighting candles, sprinkling water, drawing protective symbols, or walking in sacred patterns were intended to direct healing energy and restore harmony. Rituals sometimes involved community participation, which reinforced social cohesion and provided emotional support, while also legitimizing the healer's authority. Divination and prognostication informed magical healing. Practitioners might observe the movement of the stars, cast lots, or interpret signs from animals and nature to diagnose illness or predict the best timing for treatment. These methods reflected the belief that health was connected to cosmic, environmental, and spiritual forces, and that aligning actions with these forces could prevent or cure disease. Superstitious beliefs about illness shaped preventive practices. Avoiding certain days, behaviors, or locations was thought to protect against infection or harm. For instance, some people refrained from cutting hair or nails at specific times to avoid weakening the body or attracting disease. Others wore protective symbols during epidemics or followed strict rules about exposure to sacred spaces. While not scientifically grounded, these behaviors often reduced risk indirectly by limiting contact with pathogens or hazardous conditions. Psychological benefits of magical thinking were substantial. Belief in the efficacy of charms, spells, and rituals reduced fear, anxiety, and despair, factors known to affect immunity, pain perception, and overall well-being. Patients who felt protected or empowered often experienced measurable improvements in recovery, highlighting the mind-body connection long before modern psychology recognized it. Magical healing often complemented conventional and herbal treatments. A patient might receive herbal poultice, dietary recommendations, massage, and simultaneously be blessed with a charm or incantation. By addressing multiple layers, physical, emotional, and spiritual, folk healing provided a comprehensive approach to care in the absence of professional medical facilities. Cultural transmission ensured continuity of magical healing. Knowledge was passed orally from generation to generation, often within families or communities. Manuscripts, grimoires, and illustrated guides preserved spells, charms, and folk remedies, reflecting a rich repository of practical, symbolic, and ritual knowledge. Integration with religious belief was common. Magical practices were often intertwined with faith, invoking saints, angels, or divine forces. The distinction between religious and magical healing was fluid. Prayer, incantation, and ritual often blended to provide both spiritual and psychological reassurance. Community trust and social legitimacy were crucial. Healers who successfully combined observation, practical remedies, and magical rituals gained respect and authority. Their effectiveness depended not only on tangible results, but also on the confidence and belief of the patient and community. In conclusion, magical thinking and folk healing provided vital tools for managing health and illness. Charms, spells, rituals, and belief-based remedies engaged the mind, emotions, and spirit while addressing physical ailments. By combining practical knowledge with symbolic and psychological strategies, medieval societies developed multifaceted approaches to care that empowered individuals, strengthened social bonds, and provided holistic support in a world without modern medicine. In the next part, we will explore herbal medicine in depth, examining the wide variety of plants, preparations, and applications used to treat illnesses and promote health. Before the advent of modern pharmaceuticals, herbal medicine was the cornerstone of healthcare. Medieval people relied on plants for prevention, treatment, and recovery, drawing knowledge from centuries of observation, experimentation, and cultural tradition. Herbs were used to address a wide array of ailments, from digestive complaints to fevers, infections, and chronic conditions, reflecting an intricate understanding of the natural world and its healing potential. Herb collection and preparation required skill and timing. Plants were often gathered at specific stages of growth, during particular seasons, or at certain times of day to maximize their medicinal properties. Roots, leaves, flowers, and seeds were carefully harvested, dried, or preserved for later use. Some herbs were stored in jars, wrapped in cloth, or infused in alcohol, honey, or oil to maintain potency. The preparation process, grinding, boiling, distilling, or infusing, was as important as the choice of herb itself, with careful attention paid to dosage, combination, and method of administration. Herbal teas and infusions were a common way to consume medicinal plants. Leaves, flowers, or roots were steeped in hot water to extract active compounds. Chamomile and mint were used to soothe the digestive system, promote relaxation, or reduce fevers, while sage was employed for respiratory ailments and wound healing. The ritual of preparing and drinking herbal infusions also had psychological benefits, offering a calming and structured routine during illness. Poultices and compresses were applied externally to treat wounds, inflammations, or localized pain. Crushed herbs mixed with water, honey, or oil were placed directly on the affected area. For example, comfrey leaves were used to promote tissue repair, while garlic and onion were applied for their antibacterial properties. Warm compresses improved circulation, reduced stiffness, and accelerated healing, demonstrating practical knowledge of both plant properties and physical therapy. Tinctures and extracts concentrated herbal properties for potent therapeutic effects. Alcohol or vinegar was often used to extract active compounds from roots, barks, or seeds. These preparations could be administered orally, applied to wounds, or used in baths, providing a versatile means of harnessing plant power. Tinctures were especially valued when fresh herbs were unavailable, allowing year-round access to medicinal benefits. Essential oils and aromatic herbs were employed for their calming, antiseptic, and restorative properties. Lavender, rosemary, thyme, and rosemary were burned as incense, infused in oils, or added to baths. The scents had psychological and physiological effects, reducing stress, promoting sleep, and alleviating minor aches. These aromatic practices bridged the gap between herbal pharmacology and sensory therapy. Herbs for digestive health addressed common ailments, such as bloating, cramps, and nausea. Fennel, peppermint, and caraway seeds were used in teas or chewed directly to stimulate digestion and relieve discomfort. Mild laxatives like senna or rhubarb were employed cautiously to manage constipation, while demulcent herbs such as marshmallow or slippery elm soothe irritated digestive tracts. Herbs for fevers, infections, and immunity were central to medical practice. Willow bark, rich in salicylates, was used to reduce pain and fever, while elderflowers, yarrow, and thyme were applied to strengthen the body's defenses. Poultices, infusions, and baths containing these herbs helped manage infections and inflammations long before antibiotics existed. Herbs for mental and emotional well-being were also widely used. Valerian, lemon balm, St. John's wort, and chamomile helped alleviate anxiety, depression, and insomnia. Herbs were often consumed as teas, included in aromatic sachets, or combined with ritual and meditation to maximize their calming and restorative effects. Combination remedies were common. Healers often mixed multiple herbs to address complex conditions, enhancing efficacy and balancing properties. For example, a remedy for digestive upset might combine peppermint for soothing, fennel for stimulation, and chamomile for relaxation. These combinations reflected empirical knowledge of synergistic effects, demonstrating sophisticated herbal pharmacology. Herbal knowledge was passed down orally and in manuscripts. Apothecaries, monks, and herbalists maintained records of plant properties, preparations, and dosages. Illustrated herbals guided identification, while mnemonic devices and folklore ensured continuity of practical knowledge across generations. Apprenticeship and hands-on training reinforced proper collection, preparation, and administration, preserving empirical wisdom within communities. Integration with other therapies enhanced herbal medicine's effectiveness. Herbs were combined with massage, baths, diet, spiritual practices, and charms, addressing multiple aspects of health simultaneously. A patient with fever, for instance, might drink an elderflower infusion, rest in a warm bath infused with calming herbs, and receive prayers or protective charms blending body, mind, and spirit in a comprehensive healing approach. Preventive applications of herbs were also emphasized. Some plants were consumed regularly to maintain balance, strengthen immunity, and ward off disease. Garlic, sage, and rosemary were valued not only for specific treatments, but also as general tonic herbs, demonstrating awareness of the importance of long-term maintenance of health. In conclusion, herbal medicine provided a rich and versatile framework for healing. Through teas, poultices, tinctures, and aromatic applications, medieval people harnessed the natural properties of plants to treat illness, support recovery, and maintain health. Combined with ritual, physical therapy, and preventive practices, herbal medicine exemplified the holistic approach to well-being that characterized pre-modern medical systems. In the next part, we will explore diet and nutrition as a form of self-healing, examining how food choices were used to restore balance, prevent disease, and strengthen the body. In medieval and early modern societies, food was considered both sustenance and medicine. Diet was central to health maintenance, illness prevention, and recovery from disease. People believed that the body's balance of humors, energy, and strength could be influenced directly by what was eaten, making nutrition a key tool in self-healing. From everyday meals to specialized restorative diets, food was carefully selected for its perceived physical and spiritual effects. The concept of humoral balance guided dietary choices. According to humoral theory, the body contained four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, each associated with qualities such as heat, cold, dryness, or moisture. Illness was seen as a result of imbalance among these humors, and food was used to restore equilibrium. For example, someone believed to have excess heat might be prescribed cooling foods like cucumbers or dairy, while a person considered cold might eat warming foods such as roasted meats, onions, or ginger. Meat and protein sources were carefully regulated. Red meats like beef and mutton were considered warming and nourishing, suitable for the weak or those recovering from illness. Poultry and fish were sometimes preferred for lighter, more easily digestible meals. Certain meats were avoided for specific conditions. For instance, beef might be restricted for someone with a fever, while leaner white meats were deemed safer. Eggs, beans, and legumes supplemented protein intake, offering restorative energy for laborers, the sick, and the elderly. Grains and bread were dietary staples, providing sustenance and energy. Whole grains were valued for their perceived stabilizing properties, while refined flour was more often reserved for the wealthy. Porridges, gruels, and breads could be modified with herbs, milk, or honey to enhance digestibility or provide specific healing effects. Oats, barley, and rye were particularly common in northern climates, offering both nourishment and warmth in harsh conditions. Vegetables and fruits were incorporated to provide balanced vitamins and preventive benefits. Cabbage, onions, leeks, carrots, and turnips were widely consumed, often cooked to aid digestion. Fruits such as apples, pears, berries, and plums were eaten fresh, dried, or preserved in honey or sugar to provide energy and support overall health. Herbs were used to season foods and provide therapeutic properties, such as sage for digestion or rosemary for circulation. Dairy products, milk, cheese, and butter were important sources of nutrition. They were used both in everyday meals and in medicinal preparations. Milk was often combined with honey or herbs to soothe digestive issues, while cheeses provided concentrated protein and fat for strength and recovery. Dairy's perceived cooling or moist qualities made it suitable for balancing heat in the body. Beverages and restorative drinks played a role in nutrition and health. Broths made from meat, vegetables, and herbs provided hydration, calories, and medicinal benefits. Fermented beverages like ale and mead were common in northern Europe, offering both nutrition and antimicrobial effects due to fermentation. Herbal infusions, such as chamomile, peppermint, or sage tea, were consumed to calm digestion, relieve fever, or support relaxation. Fasting and dietary restrictions were also part of self-healing practices. Periodic fasting or avoiding certain foods was believed to cleanse the body, restore humoral balance, and strengthen resilience. Religious observances often included dietary restrictions that, intentionally or not, had health benefits, such as giving the digestive system rest or encouraging consumption of seasonal foods. Food preparation and cooking methods influenced health outcomes. Roasting, boiling, baking, and steaming were preferred techniques that made food easier to digest and reduced spoilage. Spices such as cinnamon, cloves, and pepper were used not only for flavor but also for their warming, preservative, and medicinal qualities. Cooking methods and seasoning choices reflected both cultural tastes and therapeutic intentions. Dietary therapy for specific ailments was widespread. For digestive complaints, easily digestible foods like porridge or broths were prescribed. Fever and inflammation were managed with cooling foods and drinks. Weakness or convalescence called for nutrient-rich foods such as eggs, meat, and milk. Sweeteners like honey were used to provide energy and for their mild antimicrobial properties. The careful tailoring of diet to individual conditions demonstrates an empirical understanding of nutrition's therapeutic potential. Community and social aspects of food influenced its role in health. Communal meals, shared broths, and food offerings reinforced care networks, ensured equitable nutrition, and supported recovery. Food was not only physical nourishment but also a conduit for social support, emotional comfort, and psychological resilience. Preventive nutrition was emphasized as a long-term health strategy. Regular consumption of balanced foods, seasonal fruits and vegetables, and herbal supplements was believed to strengthen the body, maintain humoral equilibrium, and reduce susceptibility to disease. Dietary wisdom was passed down through family traditions, apothecary advice, and local healers, forming a foundation for practical self-care. In conclusion, diet and nutrition were powerful tools for self-healing. By carefully selecting, preparing, and combining foods, medieval and early modern societies addressed both acute illness and long-term health maintenance. Food served as medicine, prevention, and nourishment, integrated with herbal remedies, physical therapies, spiritual practices, and psychological care. Through mindful eating, communities harness the restorative and protective properties of diet, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of the intimate relationship between nutrition and health. In the next part, we will explore water therapy and baths as healing practices, examining how immersion, cleansing, and hydrotherapy were used to restore balance and treat illness. Water has long been regarded as a source of purification, restoration, and healing, and in medieval and early modern societies, bathing and hydrotherapy were integral to health practices. While modern plumbing and sanitation were largely absent, people developed sophisticated routines for using water to cleanse, invigorate, and treat the body, combining empirical observation, spiritual beliefs, and herbal knowledge. Bathing as a routine practice varied by region, social class, and local custom. Public bathhouses were common in towns, offering spaces for immersion, social interaction, and hygiene. In rural areas, rivers, streams, and natural springs were used for bathing, while households often employed basins, tubs, or portable baths. Although perceptions of cleanliness and social propriety influenced frequency, bathing was recognized not only as a means to remove dirt but also to strengthen the body and prevent illness. Temperature and therapeutic effects of water were carefully considered. Cold water was used to invigorate, stimulate circulation, and improve alertness, while warm water soothed muscles, reduced pain, and promoted relaxation. Hot baths were employed for fevers, rheumatism, and respiratory complaints, often combined with herbal infusions or aromatics to enhance therapeutic effects. Practitioners observed the body's response to different temperatures, noting improvements in energy, strength, and comfort. Herbal baths integrated the benefits of plants with hydrotherapy. Leaves, flowers, and roots were infused in bathwater to treat specific conditions. Chamomile, rosemary, lavender, and yarrow were among the most common, chosen for calming, anti-inflammatory or antiseptic properties. Immersion in herbal baths combined the physiological effects of warmth and moisture with the therapeutic properties of plant compounds, creating a multi-layered approach to healing. Hydrotherapy for wounds and skin conditions was widespread. Washing cuts, sores, or rashes in clean water helped reduce infection and promote healing. Salt, vinegar, or herbal infusions were sometimes added to enhance antiseptic effects. Compresses or poultices soaked in water were applied to swollen or inflamed areas, leveraging the cooling and cleansing properties of water to relieve discomfort and support recovery. Steam and sauna practices were used in some regions to promote detoxification and strengthen health. Steam rooms, heated stones, or herbal-infused vapors were employed to open pores, stimulate circulation, and expel perceived impurities from the body. These practices also provided mental relaxation, respiratory relief, and social bonding, reflecting the holistic benefits of hydrotherapy. Immersion in natural springs and mineral waters was a major therapeutic practice across Europe and beyond. Certain springs were believed to have healing properties due to mineral content or spiritual significance. Pilgrims traveled to these sites seeking cures for chronic ailments, digestive issues, skin conditions, and joint pain. Scientific analysis later revealed that some mineral-rich waters did indeed possess medicinal qualities, though the belief in their sacred power amplified psychological and social benefits. Ritual cleansing and spiritual bathing were common components of hydrotherapy. Immersion in water often symbolized purification of both body and soul. Blessings, prayers, or chants accompanied baths, and sacred or consecrated waters were used to cleanse away illness, misfortune, or spiritual imbalance. This spiritual dimension enhanced the sense of renewal and provided emotional reassurance. Therapeutic techniques in bathing included alternating hot and cold water, timed immersion, and gentle massage. Water was poured over the body, limbs were soaked in basins, and hands or feet were treated in specialized baths. Such techniques improved circulation, reduced stiffness, eased joint pain, and promoted relaxation, demonstrating a practical understanding of water's physiological effects. Preventive bathing was recognized as vital for maintaining health. Regular cleansing removed dirt, sweat, and parasites, reducing exposure to infection. It also supported circulation, relaxed muscles, and maintained skin integrity. Even simple washing of hands, face, and body contributed to resilience against disease, illustrating the preventive value of water therapy. Integration with other therapies enhanced hydrotherapy's effectiveness. Baths were often combined with herbal remedies, massage, diet, and rest. A patient recovering from fever might soak in a warm herbal bath, drink a restorative infusion, rest in a quiet environment, and receive supportive prayers or charms. This comprehensive approach addressed body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. Community and social aspects of water therapy were significant. Public bathhouses served as centers of hygiene, health advice, and social support. Attendants or local healers guided bathing routines, ensuring safety and therapeutic benefit. Shared practices reinforced community knowledge about water's role in health and encouraged collective maintenance of cleanliness and well-being. In conclusion, water therapy and baths were central to medieval health practices. Through immersion, temperature regulation, herbal infusions, mineral waters, and ritual cleansing, people harnessed the restorative, preventive, and spiritual benefits of water. Hydrotherapy combined physical healing with psychological and social support, demonstrating the holistic approach to health that characterized pre-modern societies. In the next part, we will explore physical manipulation and massage, examining how hands-on techniques were used to relieve pain, improve circulation, and restore vitality. Before the advent of modern physiotherapy and medical technology, Manual techniques, such as massage, joint manipulation, and therapeutic touch were essential tools for health and recovery. Medieval and early modern societies recognized that the body could be influenced directly through physical intervention, using hands-on methods to relieve pain, improve circulation, restore mobility, and strengthen resilience. These techniques were often combined with herbal remedies, baths, and spiritual practices, creating a holistic approach to healing. Massage and rubbing were among the most common techniques. Practitioners applied pressure to muscles, tendons, and joints to reduce tension, ease stiffness, and relieve pain. Muscle soreness from labor, injury, or illness could be alleviated with gentle kneading, stretching, or friction, improving comfort and promoting recovery. Massage was also used to stimulate circulation, enhance digestion, and support lymphatic flow, reflecting an empirical understanding of the interconnectedness of bodily systems. Joint manipulation and stretching help maintain mobility and prevent stiffness. Knees, shoulders, wrists, and ankles were carefully moved through controlled ranges of motion to alleviate discomfort, reduce swelling, and restore flexibility. These techniques were particularly important for laborers, athletes, or the convalescent, as they supported functional movement and prevented long-term disability. Therapeutic use of heat and cold often accompanied physical manipulation. Warm compresses, heated oils, or herbal poultices were applied to relax muscles before massage, while cold water or ice were available reduced inflammation and numbed pain. Alternating hot and cold treatments, an approach now recognized as hydrotherapy, enhanced circulation, stimulated tissue repair, and alleviated discomfort. Oil and herbal infusions were widely used to enhance the effectiveness of massage. Oils such as olive, almond, or nut-based blends were mixed with herbs like rosemary, chamomile, and arnica. These combinations lubricated the skin, allowed smoother manipulation, and delivered therapeutic compounds directly to tissues. Aromatic properties also promoted relaxation and stress relief, supporting mental and emotional healing. Therapeutic touch and energy work were integrated with spiritual beliefs. Some healers believed that the hands could transmit life force, balance humors, or remove harmful influences from the body. Touch was used not only for mechanical benefit but also for its calming, reassuring, and spiritually restorative effects. Patients often reported relief and improved well-being after sessions, demonstrating the psychological and physiological power of touch. Treatment of fractures and dislocations relied heavily on physical manipulation. Skilled practitioners realigned bones, supported joints with splints or bandages, and guided patients through careful movement to encourage proper healing. While rudimentary by modern orthopedic standards, these methods significantly improved outcomes and reduced complications from injuries. Postpartum care and women's health frequently incorporated massage. Women recovering from childbirth received gentle abdominal, hip, and back massage to restore circulation, reduce swelling, and ease muscular tension. Herbal oils and poultices were used to support uterine contraction, relieve cramps, and strengthen the body, demonstrating attention to gender-specific health needs. Pain management through touch extended to chronic conditions. Joint pain, rheumatism, and muscle stiffness were treated with sustained massage, warm compresses, and stretching routines. Regular attention to affected areas improved comfort, enhanced mobility, and allowed individuals to continue daily activities with less limitation. Integration with other therapies amplified the benefits of physical manipulation. Massage was combined with rest, hydrotherapy, herbal treatments, diet, and spiritual support. A patient recovering from a fever, for example, might soak in a warm herbal bath, receive gentle massage to relieve fatigue, consume nourishing foods, and participate in calming rituals. Addressing the physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of healing simultaneously, training and apprenticeship were crucial for effective practice. Knowledge of anatomy, joint function, and therapeutic techniques was passed down through apprenticeships guilds, or family traditions. Experienced practitioners combined empirical observation, tactile skill, and cultural wisdom, ensuring safe and effective treatments. Preventive massage was also recognized. Regular manipulation of muscles and joints helped maintain flexibility, prevent fatigue, and reduce the risk of injury or chronic pain. People engaged in daily or weekly routines to support long-term health, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of physical maintenance. In conclusion, physical manipulation and massage were essential components of pre-modern healing practices. By relieving pain, improving circulation, restoring mobility, and supporting relaxation, hands-on therapies complemented herbal remedies, hydrotherapy, diet, and spiritual practices. The integration of touch into holistic care underscores the sophisticated understanding medieval societies had of the body's capacity to respond to physical, emotional, and spiritual interventions. In the next part, we will explore sleep, dreams, and nighttime rituals as healing strategies, delving further into how the unconscious mind and nighttime practices were used to diagnose and treat illness. Sleep was not merely a passive state in medieval and early modern societies. It was recognized as an active component of health and healing, with the unconscious mind offering insights into the body, spirit, and future. Nighttime rituals and dream-based therapies were intertwined with cultural beliefs, spiritual practices, and empirical observation, creating a sophisticated framework for addressing both physical and mental ailments. Dream interpretation as a diagnostic tool continued to play a central role in healthcare. Healers observed patients' dreams to detect early signs of disease, imbalances, or spiritual disturbance. Specific imagery such as fire, water, animals, or bodily fluids was interpreted according to humoral theory and symbolic tradition. A recurring nightmare might indicate fever or an internal imbalance, while gentle, restorative dreams suggested recovery or good health. Dream interpretation was often combined with physical observation, creating a comprehensive diagnostic method. Rituals before sleep were employed to protect and heal. Patients were instructed to perform small ceremonies involving prayer, protective symbols, or incantations before retiring. Herbal sachets, such as those containing lavender, rosemary, or chamomile, were placed under pillows or near the bed to induce calm, improve sleep quality, and invite healing dreams. These rituals not only reinforced belief in recovery but also created a structured routine conducive to restful sleep. Bed placement and environment were carefully considered. Sleeping near sacred objects, in specific orientations, or unraised beds was believed to enhance spiritual protection and physical comfort. Curtains, canopies, or coverings helped block drafts, noise, and light, improving both rest and the effectiveness of nighttime rituals. Environmental adjustments reflected an intuitive understanding of the importance of comfort, warmth, and security in promoting health. Guided visualization and meditation were sometimes practiced at bedtime. Patients were instructed to imagine restorative imagery, envision their illness being expelled, or focus on spiritual protection. Such mental exercises fostered relaxation, reduced anxiety, and allowed the body to engage natural healing processes. The intentional use of the mind during the transition to sleep highlights early recognition of the mind-body connection. Dream incubation was another common practice. Patients seeking guidance or cure might sleep near sacred springs within temple spaces, or with specific herbs to induce revealing dreams. These dreams were believed to offer solutions, predict outcomes, or communicate divine instructions for treatment. Success depended on the patient's faith, preparation, and adherence to ritual protocols. Nighttime observation was part of diagnostic practice. Healers monitored the sleeping patient for restlessness, sweating, twitching, or unusual movements. Such observations provided clues about fevers, pain, or internal imbalance. Nighttime care also included gentle touch, repositioning, and the administration of herbal infusions or compresses to maintain comfort and promote recovery. Spiritual protection during sleep was emphasized to guard against disease and malevolent influences. Protective charms, blessed objects, or inscriptions were placed near the bed, often in combination with prayers. The psychological assurance provided by these rituals reduced fear and stress, indirectly supporting physical healing. Integration with other therapies maximized effectiveness. Herbal teas, poultices, massage, and dietary adjustments were timed to complement sleep routines and nighttime rituals. A patient with fever, for example, might drink a cooling infusion, take a warm herbal bath, perform protective rituals, and rest in a carefully arranged bed, addressing physical, emotional, and spiritual needs simultaneously. Community and cultural practices reinforced the therapeutic value of nighttime rituals. Families, healers, and spiritual advisors guided patients through bedtime routines, fostering social support, shared knowledge, and continuity of care. The act of caring for the sleeping individual created both emotional comfort and practical assistance, demonstrating the communal dimension of health maintenance. Psychological benefits were substantial. Structured nighttime practices reduced anxiety, improved sleep quality, and provided a sense of control over illness. Patients who felt prepared, protected, and supported during sleep often recovered more quickly, highlighting the therapeutic power of ritual, belief, and mental focus. In conclusion, sleep, dreams, and nighttime rituals were essential components of holistic healing. By integrating dream observation, ritual, herbal support, meditation, and environmental adjustments, medieval and early modern societies harnessed the unconscious mind as a powerful ally in recovery. These practices addressed physical, emotional, and spiritual health, demonstrating a nuanced understanding of the interplay between mind, body, and environment. In the next part, we will explore the use of sound, music, and voice in healing, examining how auditory stimuli were employed to soothe, restore, and protect patients. In medieval and early modern societies, sound, music, and the human voice were recognized as powerful instruments for healing. Beyond their aesthetic or spiritual roles, auditory experiences were believed to influence the body, mind, and spirit, alleviating illness, reducing stress, and promoting recovery. From ritual chanting to instrumental melodies, sound therapy formed an integral part of holistic health practices. Chanting and vocal prayers were commonly used to restore balance and calm the nervous system. Monks, nuns, and lay practitioners chanted sacred texts in rhythmical patterns to soothe both the individual and the surrounding environment. The vibrations of the voice, combined with structured repetition, were thought to harmonize the body's energies and repel harmful influences. Patients exposed to such chanting often experienced psychological relief, reduced anxiety, and improved sleep. Instrumental music played a role in therapeutic practices. Lutes, harps, flutes, and drums were employed to stimulate, relax, or focus the listener. Slow, melodic pieces encouraged calmness and reflection, aiding recovery from fatigue or emotional distress. In contrast, rhythmic percussion could invigorate the body, stimulate circulation, and lift the spirits of convalescent individuals. Musical accompaniment was often tailored to the patient's condition, emotional state, and cultural preferences. Singing and vocal exercises were used for both physical and psychological benefits. Singing aloud could improve breathing, strengthen the voice, and enhance circulation, while simultaneously promoting emotional expression and social connection. Group singing fostered community engagement, reduced isolation, and reinforced social bonds, which were essential for mental and emotional resilience during illness. Sound-based rituals were common in healing ceremonies. Bells, gongs, and clappers were used to ward off malevolent spirits, purify spaces, and focus attention during treatment. The auditory stimuli were believed to protect patients from unseen forces while supporting the effectiveness of herbal, physical, or spiritual therapies. Such rituals also created a structured environment that reinforced faith in recovery. Therapeutic use of natural sounds was another dimension of auditory healing. Flowing water, birdsong, wind through trees, and other ambient sounds were appreciated for their calming and restorative effects. Patients might be encouraged to rest near streams in gardens or within acoustically resonant spaces to harness the natural harmonics of the environment. Exposure to these sounds reduced stress, promoted relaxation, and indirectly supported physical health. Sound and sleep and dream therapy was also recognized. Soft, repetitive sounds, such as chanting or gentle music, were used to guide sleep, promote restorative dreams, and calm restlessness. The auditory environment helped regulate mood and cognitive function, contributing to both preventive care and recovery. Integration with other therapies enhanced the impact of sound-based practices. Music and chanting were often combined with massage baths, herbal infusions, and ritual prayer. A patient recovering from illness might soak in a herbal bath while listening to soothing melodies, receive gentle massage, and participate in guided chanting or prayer addressing body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. Emotional and psychological benefits of sound therapy were significant. Exposure to harmonious or rhythmic auditory stimuli reduced fear, anxiety, and depression, which in turn supported immune function, pain management, and recovery. The anticipatory expectation of healing, reinforced by culturally meaningful sounds, strengthened both compliance and confidence in treatment. Community involvement in sound-based healing further reinforced its effectiveness. Musical performances, chanting sessions, and ritualized auditory practices were shared experiences, creating social cohesion and mutual support. By participating collectively in sound-based therapy, communities reinforced cultural knowledge, social bonds, and emotional resilience, amplifying therapeutic outcomes. Preventive auditory practices were also observed. Regular engagement with music, singing, or calming sounds was believed to maintain emotional equilibrium, strengthen mental fortitude, and prevent stress-related illnesses. Sound was understood not merely as a treatment, but as a daily practice for sustaining health. In conclusion, sound, music, and voice were essential elements of holistic healing in medieval and early modern societies. Through chanting instrumental melodies, singing ritualized sounds, and natural auditory environments, people addressed physical, emotional, and spiritual health simultaneously. Auditory therapy combines psychological reassurance, sensory stimulation, and cultural meaning to support recovery and well-being, reflecting a sophisticated appreciation of the mind-body-spirit connection. In the next part, we will explore light, color, and visual symbolism in healing, examining how visual stimuli and symbolic imagery were used to restore balance and enhance health. In medieval and early modern societies, sight and visual perception were considered powerful tools for health and healing. Light, color, and symbolic imagery were believed to influence not only the body but also the mind and spirit. From illuminated manuscripts to stained glass windows, carefully chosen colors, visual symbols, and controlled exposure to light were integrated into therapeutic and spiritual practices, creating a holistic approach to wellness. Natural light and sunlight were highly valued for their restorative properties. Exposure to sunlight was believed to strengthen the body, improve mood, and restore balance among the humors. Patients were encouraged to spend time outdoors in sunlit rooms or near windows, allowing the warming and illuminating effects of light to invigorate the body and support recovery. Sunlight was also associated with spiritual purification, reinforcing the mind-body-spirit connection. Colored light and visual stimuli played symbolic and therapeutic roles. Colors were associated with specific qualities and healing properties: red for vitality and warmth, blue for calmness and cooling, green for balance and growth, yellow for cheerfulness and energy, and white for purity and spiritual clarity. These associations guided the design of sacred spaces, treatment rooms, and personal environments, enhancing psychological well-being and supporting recovery. Stained glass windows in churches and healing sanctuaries were more than decorative. They were carefully crafted instruments of visual therapy. Colored light filtered through symbolic imagery, saints, angels, geometric patterns was thought to cleanse the spirit, inspire faith, and stabilize emotions. Patients and visitors experienced these effects as both spiritual reassurance and subtle psychological support, illustrating the interplay between perception, belief, and health. Visual symbols and iconography extended into domestic and medical spaces. Amulets, paintings, diagrams, and inscriptions were strategically placed to ward off illness, guide recovery, and provide moral or spiritual support. Images of protective saints, healing herbs, or sacred animals reinforced faith in recovery, reduced anxiety, and strengthened the sense of personal and communal safety. Color-coded remedies and herbal preparations reflected the visual dimension of healing. Herbal mixtures, powders, and potions were often selected and presented according to color, with the hue believed to correspond to the ailment being treated. A red or orange preparation might be used for cold conditions to warm the body, while green or blue herbs might calm excess heat or inflammation. The visual cue reinforced the intended therapeutic effect, engaging both the mind and the body. Guided visualization and mental imagery were used to enhance healing. Patients were instructed to focus on particular images, colors, or symbols while resting or receiving treatment. Visualizing light filling the body, specific colors restoring balance, or protective symbols surrounding the self was believed to strengthen the efficacy of herbal, dietary, and physical therapies. This practice reflects early recognition of the psychological component of recovery. Light and darkness regulation was also central to health. Sleep, rest, and recovery were facilitated by controlling exposure to natural and artificial light. Bright environments during the day promoted alertness, digestion, and circulation, while dim spaces at night encouraged rest and restoration. Attention to light cycles demonstrates an intuitive understanding of circadian rhythms and their impact on health. Integration with spiritual practices enhanced the effects of visual therapy. Sacred images, symbolic gestures, and illuminated texts provided moral guidance, emotional support, and reassurance. Patients who engaged with these visual elements often experienced reduced fear, greater hope, and increased motivation to follow treatment routines, contributing indirectly to physical recovery. Therapeutic spaces were designed with visual and symbolic considerations in mind. Healing rooms, bathhouses, monasteries, and hospitals used light, color, and imagery strategically to create environments conducive to health. The interplay of windows, painted walls, colored fabrics, and sacred icons shaped perception, reduced stress, and fostered a sense of balance and order. Preventive visual practices included surrounding oneself with uplifting or calming imagery, maintaining tidy and harmonious spaces, and observing nature. By intentionally engaging with visual stimuli, people sought to maintain emotional equilibrium, strengthen mental resilience, and prevent stress-related illness. In conclusion, light, color, and visual symbolism were essential components of holistic healing. Through exposure to sunlight, colored illumination, symbolic imagery, and guided visualization, medieval and early modern societies harnessed the power of perception to influence body, mind, and spirit. These practices complemented herbal medicine, diet, touch, sound, and ritual, creating an integrated approach to health that recognized the profound impact of visual experience on overall well-being. In the next part, we will explore ritual, prayer, and faith-based healing, examining how spiritual devotion and religious practice were used to cure illness, strengthen resilience, and provide psychological support. In medieval and early modern societies, faith, ritual, and spiritual devotion were central to the understanding and practice of healing. Illness was often perceived not only as a physical imbalance, but also as a spiritual or moral condition. Consequently, ritual and prayer were employed to restore harmony, invoke divine assistance, and provide psychological and emotional support, complementing physical therapies and herbal remedies. Prayer as a healing practice was ubiquitous. Individuals prayed for recovery from illness, protection from disease, or relief from pain. These prayers could be personal, recited quietly at home, or communal, offered collectively in churches, monasteries, or during public rituals. Prayer served multiple purposes. It reinforced the patient's hope and faith, reduced fear and anxiety, and created a sense of connection to a higher power, all of which had tangible psychological and physiological benefits. Rituals and ceremonies were structured acts designed to channel spiritual energy and promote healing. These might include processions, blessings, the application of holy water, or the recitation of sacred texts. The repetition, rhythm, and symbolism of ritual acted as a framework for mental focus and emotional reassurance, enhancing the efficacy of both physical and spiritual remedies. Sacred objects and relics were commonly used in healing. Touching or being in proximity to relics of saints, consecrated items, or amulets was believed to transmit protective and restorative power. Pilgrimages to sacred sites, such as shrines or healing springs, were undertaken with the expectation that physical presence and devotional acts could bring cures or alleviate chronic conditions. The combination of faith, expectation, and ritual participation contributed to measurable improvements in well-being. Blessings and consecration of spaces, tools, and substances reinforce the spiritual dimension of health. Physicians, herbalists, or spiritual leaders might bless herbs, water, or medical instruments to enhance their efficacy. Homes and rooms could be consecrated to protect inhabitants from disease, ensuring that the environment supported both physical and spiritual health. Fasting, abstinence, and spiritual discipline were employed as preventive and curative measures. Periods of fasting or adherence to religious dietary rules were believed to purify the body, strengthen resilience, and reduce susceptibility to disease. These practices intertwined moral, spiritual, and physical health, reflecting a holistic understanding of human well-being. Faith and community support were integral to recovery. Families, neighbors, and clergy often participated in healing rituals, providing emotional encouragement, practical care, and spiritual guidance. This communal involvement not only reinforced social cohesion but also enhanced the patient's sense of security and hope, fostering a positive psychological environment conducive to healing. Exorcism and spiritual purification were sometimes invoked when illness was attributed to malevolent forces, curses, or demonic influence. Rituals designed to expel harmful entities combined prayer, holy water, chanting, and symbolic gestures. While these practices were rooted in religious belief, they also addressed fear, anxiety, and psychosomatic conditions, demonstrating the interplay of mind, body, and spirit in the healing process. Integration with other healing practices was common. Rituals and prayer often complemented herbal medicine, diet, massage baths, and sleep routines. A patient might drink a restorative herbal infusion, receive gentle massage, partake in a cleansing bath, and participate in prayer or ritual addressing the multifaceted nature of illness through physical, emotional, and spiritual channels. Psychological effects of faith-based healing were significant. The reassurance provided by ritual, prayer, and sacred symbols reduced stress, strengthened resilience, and improved compliance with other treatments. Patients who felt spiritually supported often experienced faster recovery and improved coping with chronic or painful conditions. Preventive spiritual practices emphasized regular prayer, moral conduct, and ritual observances. These practices aim to maintain balance, protect against misfortune, and foster long-term well-being. By cultivating a disciplined spiritual life, individuals sought to strengthen their bodies and minds while aligning with the moral and cosmic order. In conclusion, ritual, prayer, and faith-based healing were vital components of medieval and early modern health practices. They addressed illness holistically, combining spiritual, emotional, and psychological support with physical therapies. By integrating devotion, communal participation, and symbolic action, these practices reinforced resilience, hope, and balance, demonstrating the inseparability of mind, body, and spirit in traditional approaches to health. In the next part, we will conclude with Part 20, Integration of Medieval Healing Practices, Holistic Approaches to Health, summarizing how all these methods work together to support well-being. The final chapter of our exploration into medieval and early modern healing brings together all the diverse practices we have examined. Medieval healing was inherently holistic, addressing the physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of health simultaneously. Rather than relying on a single method, communities combined herbs, diet, massage, hydrotherapy, ritual, sleep, music, and visual symbolism into comprehensive strategies that reflected both empirical observation and cultural belief. Holistic integration was guided by the recognition that the human body and mind were interconnected, and that imbalance in one domain could affect the others. Treatments were rarely isolated. A patient with a fever might receive herbal remedies, restorative broths, a warm bath, massage, prayer, and ritual observation. Each element worked in concert to reduce symptoms, restore humoral balance, support immune function, and maintain emotional equilibrium. The layered approach exemplified an understanding that healing encompassed more than just the alleviation of physical symptoms. Herbal medicine provided a foundation of tangible, physical treatment. Teas, poultices, tinctures, and infused oils addressed digestive issues, fevers, infections, and musculoskeletal pain. Herbs were selected with attention to humoral qualities, combined synergistically, and prepared to maximize potency. Their use often intersected with rituals, spiritual observances, and diet, ensuring that physical and symbolic healing operated in harmony. Diet and nutrition were critical in both prevention and recovery. Food was selected to balance humors, strengthen the body, and provide energy for convalescence. Grains, vegetables, fruits, meats, and dairy were consumed according to seasonal availability, physical condition, and humoral theory. Nutritional therapy worked alongside herbal and ritual practices, offering both physiological support and cultural reinforcement of care routines. Hydrotherapy and baths addressed circulation, relaxation, and purification. Hot, cold, and herbal baths, as well as natural springs and steam treatments, were used to restore humoral balance and invigorate the body. Bathing also served psychological and social functions, providing comfort, reducing anxiety, and fostering community support. The integration of water therapy with massage, herbal remedies, and prayer demonstrated the interplay between practical treatment and holistic well-being. Physical manipulation and massage targeted musculoskeletal and circulatory health. Gentle touch, stretching, and joint manipulation relieved pain, improved mobility, and enhanced recovery. Massage complemented hydrotherapy, herbal therapy, and diet, while also providing psychological reassurance and reinforcing the patient's sense of being cared for. Sleep, dreams, and nighttime rituals leveraged the unconscious mind for diagnosis, guidance, and restoration. Bedtime prayers, dream incubation, environmental adjustments, and relaxation techniques ensured that physical, emotional, and spiritual recovery occurred during rest. Sleep-related practices were carefully coordinated with other therapies to maximize restorative benefits. Sound, music, and voice played a dual role, influencing both body and mind. Chanting, instrumental music, singing, and ambient sounds soothed emotions, reduced anxiety, and stimulated physiological responses. Auditory therapy reinforced ritual, spiritual devotion, and communal cohesion, providing a psychological layer that supported physical healing. Visual symbolism, light, and color offered cognitive and emotional support. Exposure to sunlight, colored illumination, symbolic imagery, and guided visualization promoted calm, balance, and spiritual reassurance. Visual elements integrated with herbal, dietary, and tactile therapies to strengthen resilience and provide psychological reinforcement. Ritual, prayer, and faith-based practices grounded healing in spiritual belief. Blessings, holy water, sacred objects, pilgrimages, and moral observances addressed spiritual imbalance, moral transgressions, and psychological distress. Faith-based practices also served as a framework for integrating other therapies, reinforcing social support, and providing hope and confidence to the patient. Community involvement was a unifying force in all aspects of healing. Families, neighbors, healers, clergy, and local practitioners collectively contributed to care, ensuring knowledge transfer, emotional support, and practical assistance. Health was viewed not as an individual concern alone, but as a communal responsibility, integrating social cohesion into the healing process. Preventive care permeated all practices, maintaining humoral balance, following dietary routines, engaging in ritual and spiritual discipline, practicing hygiene and bathing, and participating in social and sensory therapies were all recognized as ways to maintain health and reduce susceptibility to illness. Prevention was as important as cure, reflecting a proactive understanding of wellness. Psychological and spiritual dimensions were acknowledged alongside physical treatments. Belief, faith, reassurance, ritual, and communal participation all contributed to reduced stress, enhanced resilience, and improved recovery outcomes. Medieval practitioners understood that the mind and spirit influenced the body's ability to heal, and they structured therapies accordingly. In summary, medieval healing practices exemplified an integrated, holistic approach. Rather than isolating the body from mind or spirit, medieval societies embraced the interconnectedness of all aspects of human health. Herbs, diet, touch, water, sleep, music, visual symbolism, ritual, and community support were woven into comprehensive strategies that addressed physical symptoms, emotional needs, and spiritual balance. This multidimensional approach not only treated illness, but also fostered resilience, empowered individuals, and reinforced communal bonds. While modern medicine relies on specialized knowledge and technology, the holistic framework of medieval healing provides a profound lesson. Health is multifaceted, and effective care encompasses the body, mind, and spirit together. By integrating practical remedies with spiritual and psychological support, medieval societies created a system of care that, despite its limitations, was remarkably sophisticated in its understanding of human well-being. With this, we conclude the 20-part series on how people healed themselves without medicine, demonstrating the rich and interconnected practices that sustained health in the medieval world.